Okay, Derek Forgie, I've got you here. You're in Toronto. I'm in Vancouver. I'm Erin from Redhead Review. And you, of course, are from Kiss a Ginger Day, which you started in 2009. And why did you start it?
Well, I think the first imagery I can think of was this cute little kid who was in grade 8. He was in Flin Flon, Manitoba. He had like Coke bottle glasses, and he was on the news talking about how he was afraid to go to school. And this was because somebody had crafted up Kick a Ginger Day, which was kind of spawned from the Gingers Have No Souls thing, which was kind of spawned from South Park and everything else. So this kid was afraid to go to school because he was getting pushed into lockers and he was getting beat up and treated poorly, and it was just it was classic bullying. And it was actually the first time I can really say that I felt marginalized as a redhead. Like, I hadn't really experienced much of that as a kid, but I saw this kid and I kind of recognized him. I'm like, I know what you're going through. And so I was like, well, this needs like a karmic pushback. Like, let's form the anti-Kick a Ginger Day. How can I do that? So I just switched a couple of letters, for the sake of, Google searches and whatnot, and put Kiss a Ginger Day, which felt like the most natural leap because it kind of sounded the same. It was alliteration. It was the same letter. And then just by happy coincidence, the Kick a Ginger Day page was classified as a bullying site. Thus, Facebook shut it down. So when you went to go search for this story, all of a sudden you found me in the top search, right? Like, you found my little page that had like 8 of my friends on it. And then boom, 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 boom. Within a week, there was thousands of redheads on it. And then it just kind of took off from there. Like, that first year, it really, really exploded.
So 2009 was the first year, and what was the situation going on? You said there was a kid in Flin Flon, but I always heard
Flin Flon, Manitoba, who was talking to the news about how he was afraid to go to school because people were treating him poorly because it was Kick a Ginger Day and because he was being bullied because of his red hair. But
it started in the UK, didn't it? Like, that seems to me to be the place where the bullying is the worst, because I agree with you. As a kid, I mean, I got teased. But it was never to the degree that we've experienced since Kick a Ginger Day has really come into a cultural knowingness that didn't exist before.
That's right. Yeah. No, I think, and it's huge in the UK. Like, it's bigger. I don't get any more attraction than I do in the UK and Ireland for obvious reasons, just because of the sheer numbers. Yeah. And I think there was a lot of sort of ginger-centric, redhead-centric events and things happening over there. But nothing, it was, I don't think, I didn't really find a specific presence. I didn't see there was a specific day. I didn't see that there was a specific time. So I said, you know what, let's just tidy this up and clean it up and find a specific time. Let's give it a logo, give it a life, give it a real thing. And the world just kind of agreed that this was the right one. What I actually did was I looked at the whole calendar year. I looked at the entire calendar, January to December, and I didn't want to sort of take away anybody's thunder. So I said, like, what's the most boring day of the year? And as it turns out, it's January 12th. so like, there's just nothing. Like, Valentine's Day is over a month away. Christmas is over. Boxing Week is finished. Martin Luther King Day isn't until the 15th. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to put it right there. I just put a little pin in it, and it just worked.
Well, in terms of actually, pinpointing something good and not stepping on anyone else's thunder, that was really intelligent of you, because you don't want to compete. And obviously this has taken off. It's become something probably bigger than you had ever imagined. I mean, what was it like last year? You got some huge press.
Yeah, last year was head and shoulders the biggest year. I mean, 2009, when I first did it, it was pretty good. Like, I was pretty happy with how it went. But it wasn't until 2015 when it was just like, it just ran circles around every other year, tenfold. Like, it was everywhere. It was right up to Conan O'Brien's monologue. I had Wendy's restaurants and Papa John having like a Twitter flirtation. It was just, Chester Cheetah specifically did a photo for it. Like, he put on a tie. And then, of course, when the Harry Potter fan page, which has 76 million followers or something like that, once they put up a little Ron Weasley tribute and they put that hashtag of Kiss a Ginger Day, look out, it was over. Like, we were just, pow, it was everywhere. Like, every redhead in the world was just, had known about it. It was enormous. It was, I couldn't even keep track of all the press we were getting. It was pretty cool.
Wow. So yeah. Kiss a Ginger Day, I mean, the idea is, of course, to just give peace and love to ginger or redheaded people in your life. How do you see that manifesting? Like, when you're on the streets of Toronto where you started it, or, traveling internationally perhaps to speak about the event, what do you see? Are there big rallies? Are there people actually going out and kissing redheaded people?
Well, I don't physically, actually, I don't see much of the actual act of that. Like it's more of, I think people get the joke. Like they know it's a tongue-in-cheek kind of lighthearted nod. You know, I think people get that. I think they understand the humor of it. I don't think they take it literally. They understand because, again, Kick a Ginger Day was pretty big too. Like it was actually pretty well known back then. So I think people get the, oh, okay, I see what you're going for. They get the joke. So there's actually not that, but the events are everywhere. Actually, I'm going to drop a name of a friend of mine, Sean Hitchens. He goes out to Redhead Days too. He's got a lot of press because of his redheaded shows and his one-man show and everything else. So there was one in the Netherlands. There's a big one in Ireland. There's one in South Africa that's pretty big. And there's a guy named James in Rome, Georgia, who does a redhead march, and we're actually trying to figure out a way to get me down there, which is kind of cool. So it's so funny to see these organic events kind of pop up all over the world that I have nothing to do with, but they all know about the day. Like I'm not connected. It's very Fight Club. I love it.
Yeah. Well, there are a lot of groups around the world, you know, who do, they promote ginger pride, right? And so have you found that without even trying, you've been associated with them? Have you been championed by any of them? Like the Redhead Festival that happens in Cork, Ireland, or anything in the Netherlands? Are they connecting with you, or the MC1R magazine? Have they reached out to you at all?
Well, it's funny, and this is kind of perfect for me. I am way less famous than the holiday is. Like, I'm not even close to like how well known the holiday is, which is perfect for me. I'm totally fine with that. Like, I would say if you went to any of these events, any of these redhead events, they're probably going to know about January 12th, but they probably don't know about me, which is totally fine. Like, I think it's great. In fact, that even struck me on January 12th, 2015, which was our biggest day in 9 years or 8 years, whatever it was. I was just having dinner with my wife and daughter, and there was even a redhead person in the restaurant with me who had no idea who I was. And it was literally at that moment we were trending internationally. So it had reached a fever pitch. It was at its most popular part of the day, and I was just comfortably having dinner with my family and not famous. Does that make any sense?
It's a good balance. That's what everyone, I think, is wanting. You get all the benefits of the fame and well, not the fame, but of your activism work, but you don't have to deal with any of the downfalls, the pitfalls of being famous, right?
Yeah, exactly. Which is kind of cool. I was kind of okay with it. Oh, my daughter's just handing me something. Is this for me? Oh, thanks, kiddo. She just gave me this little heart she just made.
Well, that's because she wants to kiss you, maybe because you're a ginger.
Thanks, Poops. I appreciate it.
He loves you lots.
Yeah. Thanks, kiddo. That's very nice.
So you were saying before that you hadn't experienced a whole lot of bullying growing up, but did you feel different? Did you know that you were different? I guess. I mean, it's kind of a weird question to ask a redhead. Most of us.
Yeah. Let me clarify. I'm not gonna go on record and say I didn't experience bullying, but it was for different reasons. It wasn't because of the orange hair exactly. I grew up in a pretty Caucasian town. I'm from Northern Ontario, a place called Mattawa, and actually I'm wearing the hoodie right now. See, there's the
nice.
So it was more for my extrovertedness. It was more for being on stage and doing the morning announcements and doing all kinds of things. Like there's, as much as I love my hometown, there is a good streak of apathy that sometimes can strike the attitude of my town, in that, like, if you have drive or if you have enthusiasm, a lot of people will just kind of roll their eyes at it and go, oh, whatever, buddy, go ahead, have fun. So I was really extroverted, and I wanted to do a lot of things. I was really active in any activity I can get my paws on, and that made me kind of a colossal loser. Like, it really made me and
having red hair made it even worse, right?
Sorry?
Having red hair made it even worse.
It didn't help. Yeah, it didn't. It didn't help me out at all, because there was only me and a guy named Trevor. We're pretty much the only male redheads in the school. And the weird thing was, I was in a school, 186 students, like it's a small school, and less than 3,000 people in my hometown, and people constantly confused Trevor and I. He was like 6'1" or something. I'm 5'5". He just has a completely different physique than me. We have different voices, different families, different personalities, and people would confuse me for Trevor. I'm like, no. He's the guy who's a foot taller than me. How can you make this mistake?
I think a lot of people look at redheads and they kind of think that they all look the same, right? Because it's all they see is the feature, right? Like, I get told quite often that I look like Emma Stone. Like, no, I don't. I don't at all. It's just they both have red hair. I mean, most redheads can kind of relate to that, or someone who's got a distinguishing feature, like a big muscly bald guy looks like The Rock. Like, not really.
Sure. Right. Yeah.
So it's an interesting phenomenon, right? Like kind of an all look same kind of situation.
Yep.
But I do have a question now about other people out there. Like, you've created Kiss a Ginger Day. There's been some great reaction. It's been trending virally. Are there people in your life or who you hear about who are like, really, is this a thing? Because I find myself having to explain, actually, it is a thing. And not everyone quite gets it. So have you experienced that?
Well, sure, and I think probably the most notable counterpoint was actually from Vice magazine when we were trending. Vice did a pretty, actually, and I think a pretty interesting article on it. I mean, I didn't think it was all valid. It was probably a little angrier than it needed to be, but but it was pretty good. It was about how, and this is more from the female perspective, which I completely I'm not for a moment dismissing it. That it was actually the downside to this quasi holiday was that you were welcoming sexual attention if you're a female redhead. I'm wording this terribly, but the crux of the article was, oh great, another excuse for sexual harassment and sexualization of females who happen to have orange hair. Great, wonderful. So so it was kind of like, really, do we really need to do this? Is it? And I think the only real negative, like even tweet or comment I could think about, because this has been resoundingly positive, was somebody had said that it felt a little too close to white power for their comfort level. I'm like, okay, that is definitely not at all what's happening here. You know, if anything, it was an embracing of all colors, be it orange, be it blonde, be it whatever. You know, it's almost like, I feel like Kiss a Ginger Day, at least for me, is sort of like, let's celebrate all shades of humanity, if that makes any sense.
No, I do. Yeah, no, it totally did. I mean, I just find that a lot of people, I mean, they think that the South Park thing is a joke, but they don't realize what happened from there. Like, hey, it's a really funny episode, but the fallout from that has been huge, and it's affected lives. People have been hurt by it, injured. Like, they have emotional damage because of Kick a Ginger Day, right? Like, there are people, your kid with a Coke bottle glasses in Flin Flon, like that, those people actually carry those scars with them. And I think that, you know, ginger bullying is maybe one of the few areas where it's kind of like making fun of fat people. It's still kind of okay. You know what I mean?
It's kind of funny, right? It's still a little bit funny because there's a perception that there's not, that we're fine and we're resilient and we'll be okay. And I don't even think it was for me. Like, I didn't feel it. I really didn't feel it too badly, because I was, again, when this whole thing happened, I was already into my 30s. You know, it was fine. I didn't feel it. I don't know, late 20s even. And so I'm pretty, you know, with it. I think I'm an adult on some level, you know, and so I didn't feel it to my core. Whereas if I was 14, if I was 12, I know that I would have. So it was more for them. Like, I know I sound like, you know, Reverend Lovejoy's wife, like, won't somebody think of the children? But I literally was thinking about the 14-year-old me. And that's why I formed this thing. And I got to say, like, I did have kind of a nonchalance, kind of like a bit of a, almost, what's the word I'm looking for? A flippant attitude towards it. Like, I invited 8 redheaded friends on the Facebook page that I made. That's as far as it went. I didn't really take it seriously. Like, I was not being Malcolm X about it. Like, I wasn't like, we need to take this back. And I wasn't doing that. I was really like, hey, this is a fun thing. But a lot of people really have. Like, I'm really surprised at the amount of people that do take it seriously and are like, dude, I need this. Like, the amount of messages that I've gotten and retweets and all this kind of stuff, people who've just like, thanks so much for this. I'm alone in my town. Like, I got nothing. People are on my case all the time. And you really made me feel like I'm not, this isn't a birth defect. There's a lot of people that really took it to heart. And I was really surprised. So I feel good about it. Like, I do feel good about the holiday. And I don't care how many articles like are written against it, you know, because like I said, the overwhelming response has been positive.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Now, for this year, January 12th coming up on the Tuesday, I believe, are there any special events that you know of that are planned in your city, Toronto, anything around the world, or anything that people can do to participate?
You know what? It's funny. I usually find out about these things after it's over. Like, I usually, there's always like photo. I would love to know. I know there was one last year in the UK. It was like a karaoke. It was like a redhead karaoke night that like hundreds of people showed up at, which is really cool. I connected with the guy who ran that event. And usually there's just photos that come up of people on the street, and here's us in Times Square, and here's us walking down the streets of Reykjavik, and here's us, like, it's just, so I don't know right now, but I know that post the 12th, I'm going to find photos everywhere of just spontaneous events, which is really cool. And so I'll put this out there. If you are out there and you're planning an event for January 12th, let me know, let me know, and we'll tweet it out, and we'll give you a little love.
Sounds good. And if people want to participate online, are there hashtags people should know about? How can they participate?
They can hashtag Kiss a Ginger Day. That's probably the best way to go. That seems to be the one that everybody goes with. And you can include us. We are at Kiss_A_Ginger. And there's two pretty notable Facebook pages which you can find really easily with a Google search or a Facebook search. You can find those two.
Well,
and we're doing giveaways right now. I'm giving things away. I have prizes. I just gave away a T-shirt, and I'm giving away Felicia Day's book right now on our Twitter page. And I got some more stickers, and I got some more things. So if you like redheaded-centric prizes, go find us on Twitter as well.
Excellent. Good information. Well, thank you so much for talking to me today, and I hope you have a wonderful Kiss the Ginger Day.